Hello and welcome to this instalment of Talkin Trim. I'm Jonathon Skinner and today we're looking at some examples of some fully trimmed front seats and headrests for the Mazda MX5 models. Also known as the Mazda Miata models, mostly by the North American market I believe. As I know them as the MX5s, that's what I'll be referring to them as for the duration of this video. Now, any of you that are familiar with my channel will know that we are in the process of sort of patterning up the original Mazda MX5 seat design. This is, I believe, Mark 1, Mark 2 from sort of early to mid-90s, which had this detachable stalk headrest to it. And we are redesigning them so that they look a bit more classic and a bit more in line with some of the cars that we make interior kits for. Standardly, we make kits for British classic cars from the 1950s, 60s, 70s and 80s era, but generally speaking, mainly the 50s, 60s, 70s. And what we've tended to see over the past decade or so is that people often get a hold of these MX5 seats and they put them into their cars because they're relatively easy to get hold of, relatively cheap. And they offer much better sort of upper back support and lateral support, which unfortunately some of the original seats from the factories did not. And obviously some of you guys really like to sort of do long tours in the cars, either around Europe or all over America, etc. And so I get it. I get why people have switched out the seats for more comfortable ones. However, the one thing that's always irked me about it is the fact that they just don't quite look right to me in the cars, because sometimes people even just don't even bother changing the colour. So if they've got a red car and they just find some black seats, they just swap them out. But the MX5 seats, completely different era of manufacture, down to the way they're actually sort of made. The materials are just a fairly cheap fabric material. Obviously, the colours don't often tie in, but even down to the styling of it, they used a lot of top stitch seams down the edges. They didn't have pleats, no piping, etc. Whereas the era that I'm used to for all the kits that we make, you had pleats, you had piping going around the edges and borders and whatnot. And so this is what we've tried to do basically, is we're going through all of the different cars that we offer kits for, and we're seeing whether we can tweak seat covers to look more in line with the original classic ones, but fitting onto the same framework as these. And we're getting more and more interest for it. So what we've got here is two of our first initial offerings. We've got in red of sort of vertical pleat version, which is specifically going into a Jaguar E-Type Series 1 4.2. And then in blue here, we've got the horizontal, lots of pleat version, which is going into a Triumph TR6. They've been made to different material specs as well, although both have leather elements to them. The dark blue has been done in full leather. Absolutely everything is leather on there apart from the piping, which is leather cloth. So even the backs of the seats here are leather. The retainers, which are all out the way, now are leather. These surrounds here are leather. Whereas the red seat has been done to, should we say, a factory spec for the E-Type era, which is what we refer to as Leatherfaced. So the bits that touch your body are leather, but the backs and the surrounds are vinyl. So all of these bits here are leather, but then the surrounds here are in vinyl. And then actually the backs of these seats have been done in Moquette, because that was what the Series 1 4.2s used for the backs of the seats. If I can just refer to an E-Type book here, just to give you a bit of a glimpse of it. So you can see you've got the vertical top to bottom pleats and forward backward pleats there, which is what we've replicated here. You've got this kind of cross seam going across the seat here, which is what we've done there as well. And then on the backs of the seats, you have this Moquette material, which is it's almost like a thin unbacked carpet material. Very high quality wool is used for that, and so that's what we've done on this one, because that's what the 4.2 Series 1s had. The later cars switched to vinyl, which is obviously a very easy thing for us to switch out. So again, this is just the sort of levels of depth that we're going to on some of these things here. It's worth noting that when it comes to seat covers, including these MX5 ones here, we can offer a 3-tier option when it comes to materials. So basically, one end of the scale, you have everything in vinyl. The other end of the scale, you have everything in leather, so a full leather version, i.e. this dark blue one. And then you have the middle ground option here, which is what we're referring to as leather-faced, where the majority of the main part of the seat is leather, but then the backs and surrounds are vinyl or, say, Moquette, dependent on the era of car that we're working to here. Then it's worth noting, if we just sort of compare and contrast some of the styling elements of these here. So As you can see, the original seat on the cushion base here, you had seams going around the edge of it, no piping. It waterfalled off the edge here, whereas for both the E-Type and the TR6 ones here, we've piped the edges here. It doesn't waterfall off. You can't continue the piping going across there. You had side border bits and you have pleats, which is exactly like the E-Type ones are. So you had the side seam there, you had the side borders on the seats there, the front border there, and you had piping going all the way around the seat there. Same element on the backrest here. Again, they just use a lot of seams, and in fact this backrest piece here, you had this quite messy seam going down here that seems to open up on a lot of them there. Whereas on our one there, we have piped both edges and it goes into the backrest, which again is akin to exactly like the E-Type ones left the factory there. Now it's worth noting on E-Type, while we're on this subject here, that the later cars, generally speaking Series 2s and Series 3s, they had an embossed pattern on the pleats, which I'm not sure you're going to be able to see from a picture when I actually find one. Let's go Series 3. Oh yeah, there you go. You can see just about make out this faint embossed pattern on the pleats of the seats. Don't know if we've got any better pictures, I'm afraid. No. You can just about make it out, or certainly I can. You'll have to trust me. We can offer that. Obviously, we offer that as standard with our E-Type seats if it's correct for the era. So that's another thing that we could potentially do with these E-Type seats here, depending on the era that you're working to, is do the pleated panels with that embossed leather pattern on the pleats here. So again, like these are the lengths that we're going to with these redesigns, try and make them as authentic as possible to the era. Same sort of concept with the Moquette on the back, dependent on the era. Now touching on the TR6 seats. Now TR6s, they did actually have 5 different versions of seats, but far and away the most commonly seen one is this one here, which is the last version they did. Actually had its own stalk headrest there. And same principle again, you've got the left to right, lots of pleats, which is what we've done on the backrest and the cushions there. You had the side borders and front border here, which is again what we've done here. It was piped all the way round, as per this one here, as opposed to the waterfall of the original MX5 seat. And then same sort of concept again on the backrest there. You had pleats and side borders. Now obviously the design of the MX5 seat, because of this sort of horseshoe and the way it's trimmed together, we haven't been able to go all the way up the panel there and just continue the pleats as per the original seats there. However, we are going to be playing around with that. We spent a good bit of time doing it, and there's no easy or obvious way to do it. So at the moment, we worked with our customer on this one and spoke to him about it, and he said just make it fit the seat as best as possible there. So that's what we've done there, and it looks really nice on there. Then obviously the backrest, you had again the 2 piped elements before it went into the back of the backrest, which again is in line with how the original TR6 seats were designed there. And then just a panel on the back. Obviously with both of them we've kept the pockets in place as per the MX5 design on them. And then the headrest, we haven't made a huge amount of changes. We've basically just piped the top part there just to keep the piping pattern continuing through the seats and keeping it all consistent. Now it is worth noting on the TR6s, same sort of principle as the Jag E-Types. For the cars that left the factory in vinyl ambler, which was quite a decent amount of them, again you can just about make it out on there, they had an embossed pattern on the pleats, as per this one here, which is obviously what we offer as standard for our vinyl TR6 seat covers. And again, we can offer that on this seat if you wanted it. If you are having it done in the vinyl version there, then we can do the pleated panels with that pattern on them there. So again, these are the levels that we're going to with these sorts of things. It's also worth noting that we've been offering for a few years now for anyone that's going with leather-faced or full leather TR6 seats, even though originally from the factory, if they left in leather, they would be plain pleats as per these ones here. We have been offering people the pattern in leather as per this green sample there on the pleats there. So do check out my other videos that I have done, because we've done a few TR6 seats where people have asked for that pattern on them. Even though it's not exactly original, it gives a nice nod to originality, and so some people like that there. So worth keeping that in mind. We can tweak the designs of these things with those elements in mind if you like that sort of look and finish on it. So do bear that in mind. But yeah, I hope you found that useful. I will be doing other videos. The more and more we're getting inquiries for different cars, we start redesigning the seat covers relevant to those cars. So do keep watching and keep tabs on the YouTube channel, because like I say, we're hoping to do lots and lots of these for all the different versions of seats that we offer to people from the range of cars that we do, all to fit this style of MX5 seat with the stalk headrest. It is worth noting, same sort of era MX5s as well, they did have what we refer to as the tombstone version of the seat, which is one that didn't have a stalk headrest, it just continued up. That is in the pipeline. I wouldn't say it's going to be happening anytime soon, but we've had a few requests for those. But we did initially try designing those ones, and they're a lot more complicated, so we figured we would get these ones out the way first, and then we can start tweaking those designs there. So if you do have any requests, do let me know. I'm not going to say it's going to get acted on straight away unless we have a decent amount of demand for it, but I just wanted to showcase these because I think they're turning out really nicely, and more people are asking for them. So with these, do refer to my earlier videos. We can just offer the seat covers ready to be fitted at your end. However, they are quite tricky to trim, especially the backrests, and so we do recommend that you probably get us to do them for you. But as with all of our interior kits, we're also of course happy to supply kits that can be fitted at your end, but just with a word of warning that they're not particularly straightforward to trim up, so just bear that in mind. Yeah, and with that element of things, if you wanted us to source you some MX5 seats, that's absolutely fine. We can source them for you. We're very transparent about that. In fact, we work with people who have found them on eBay, and we just effectively buy them at the cost value, and cover costs are covered there. And then we obviously just then start with the seat cover and trimming side of it there. So that's always an option. And then the other obvious option is you send us the seats. So let us know your thoughts on that if you are interested. But thanks for tuning in. Please remember to like, share and subscribe. Please do share it with other classic car enthusiasts out there. And of course, share it with some MX5 and Miata owners out there. They might just want to spruce up the interior of their Mazda. So we're more than happy to do that there. And of course, remember to tune in for the next video. Thanks.